it's like the whites are with the whites, the blacks are with the blacks, and the Mexicans get to choose. It's kind of how it works. Yeah, I mean, I went to university in Dallas, just outside of Dallas, University of North Texas, and that was, again, a culture shock, because that was my first real exposure to real Black America. And that was fascinating, because in that bit of Texas, it's like the whites are with the whites, the blacks are with the blacks, and the Mexicans get to choose. It's kind of how it works. So if you were black and you had a bunch of white friends, people would be like, And if you, I mean, funnily enough, white people kind of have the option as well, right? Because then they ask that cool ass white guy that hangs out with the black people. But if you, I mean, I knew a few people that had predominantly white friends or joined white fraternities, and I mean, they got talked about. People were like, well, we don't really need to kick it with him because he only likes white people.
So when was it you moved back to the UK?
I was about 22. I moved back in 2004. So just after uni. I finished uni, and within weeks, so my aunt came out for my graduation. My aunt that lived in South London, she came out for my graduation, and I was like, when you go, I'm just gonna come with you. So I moved literally as soon as I graduated, and I've been back ever since.
So
Okay.
you've graduated.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're doing your masters. Where are you doing that?
Cardiff University, part-time. So I'm working full-time, going to Cardiff part-time over 2.5 years, I think it took me. Doing a master's in clinical research, which is the field I was working in at the time. Biology in America is the precursor to going to medical school. So if you want to be a doctor, you've got to have a biology undergrad. And if you think about the way African households are structured, Nigerian parents say you've either got to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. So actually, in terms of being represented, it wasn't so drastic that I was like, where are all the black people? Put it like that. I had enough black people around me at university, particularly a lot of African people actually, who were doing undergrad, who subsequently went on to medical school or pharmacy school or whatever.
So do you think up until then, your experiences shaped your outlook on life?
I don't know. I often think this question to myself. I often think, how did I get to be where I am in terms of how did my preferences become what they are? How did I start to evaluate life and see this is right, this is wrong? Because I don't have clear memories of my parents being like, you must always do this and you must never do that. I feel like in giving us this breadth of experience, they've kind of let us figure it out ourselves. They put us in different environments and they've said, these are the things that you need to do to survive. They were always like, if somebody puts hands on you, you put hands on them. And so my brother took that quite literally, and he put hands on a few people and ended up. And actually, that's an interesting point, because when I talk about my experience, I was much younger and I was probably a lot blinded to it. But my older brother was obviously moving at the same time as us, and he got into many fights. He was suspended when we got to Canada. He was suspended maybe 4 weeks into school. Somebody was like, nigger, and he was like, here's your nigger. And then, I mean, this was an 18-year-old kid, and kid had to go to hospital, put it like that. So he got suspended straight away. So actually, when I think about whether or not Canada was racist, I think maybe I was a little bit shielded from it, but I think racism or prejudice was definitely prevalent. But I guess going back to your original question, do I feel as though I don't know, I think it's the breadth of experience, and I think it's having an anchor in parents who firmly believe something. So African parents are generally wedded to a certain set of ideals, and those ideals are normally anchored in good things, even if the expression of those ideals can feel quite almost oppressive, right? You must do this, you must do that, but they're anchored in good things, and that is you set yourself up to do well, you be kind to everybody, don't get in trouble. And so anchoring us in that, and then kind of just giving us this breadth of experience and allowing us to live in these different places kind of means that we were anchored to that and we got to experience all of these things. And I think that's probably what shaped my outlook on most things today.